Yep. Okay. We're live. Good evening, lunatics. Not sure how everything's working right now because pretty much my entire desk exploded about 10 minutes ago. And my drink got spilled. My monitors quit working. So I don't know what kind of shape we're in right now, but we're about to find out.
I suggest you quit drinking before you produce this podcast.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's a pot calling a kettle black. So,
well, listen, my stuff didn't blow up. Okay.
Well,
anyway, you need to practice your drinking a little more. Maybe you're just not quite as
That is certainly a possibility. Gosh,
I'm still got a droopy nose. I apologize in advance, but it's the only remnants I have of whatever this crap is I've had for the past month. I took it to Aspen with me, took it to the truck show with me.
It tried to get me, but I was too powerful for it.
I think I'm about to get over it. Hopefully. So anyway, I haven't been on the podcast. This is my first one in 3 weeks. So I was in Aspen 2 weeks ago with the grandkids, and last week we didn't do one because we were at the truck show.
Right.
We tried to do one, but the neighbors next door weren't going to allow it, so we had to shut it down a little prematurely, I guess. But anyway, it's nice to be back.
Yeah. Well, I put together a little presentation with some pictures. So that we can, let me see. I'm going to fix that. Is it any better? No, it's not any better.
Do you want to hear something funny?
Go ahead.
I'm hearing you through my speakers on my Mac.
Okay.
I'm hearing me through my headset.
You have to change you have to change it from your computer on your audio, change it from your computer speakers to the codec.
Where did I do that?
Up the top where it has the speaker up the top in the tray. Should be up the top.
Oh yeah, I see it now. Oh yeah. All right.
Yeah, is that better?
That's much better.
I had to do the same thing.
Now I don't feel like I'm talking to myself. So Dave Thomas, we don't just sound good, we look good. Okay. Come on, admit it.
Right. Oh my gosh. Anyway, well, we appear to be live on TikTok as well. So I think I might have got that fixed.
I don't have to have 1,000 followers or 1,000 people that love me.
Well, what I have done here is kind of a bootleg version of putting TikTok. I basically got just my iPad looking at my screen, and I've got audio coming in from the podcast. To TikTok. So, hi TikTok, you guys should be hearing us.
Listen, Congress is not going to like you, manipulating TikTok around the
well, this ain't going to be the first. This ain't going to be the first time I've ever uttered these words, but Congress can kiss my fat ass.
Yeah, I understand.
Gosh, I'm still making an awful mess on this desk. It is I'm pretty much going to have to tear it all down after we're done and start over. Anyway, well, so in Larry's absence, we had Tony Stronchek, and we had old Larry L Boogie, who we got to hang out with at the truck show. We didn't get to see Tony; he wasn't out there this week, but we did get to hang out with a lot of interesting people. And chief among them, right there he is, the man, the myth, the legend, one Richie Matthews. We got to hang out. We got to spend way too much time with Richie. He was my bodyguard. I had him fully armed there to protect me just in case somebody tried to attack.
Y'all think that's his belly, but it's not. That's his weapons cache.
Yeah. That's where he keeps all his pistols and his AR-15.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was Richie. That was when we first got there. So I'm going to roll through some pictures here and share with y'all. This was Jonathan, fan of the show and owner-operator. maybe potential BCO one of these days. We got to hang out with him.
Hang on before you pass this up. That's Jonathan and Stephanie Staten. They brought me
They did.
a bottle of my favorite bourbon, and I wanted to take this opportunity, first of all, to thank you, Jonathan, for doing that. That was very, very nice. And as a thank you for that, if you will send me, you'll text me your shirt, I'm going to send you an official Blue Ribbon polo shirt. So send that to me, and I'll get that. Thank you very much for the Jeffersons.
I am getting a little bit of choppiness out of your microphone. I want you to make sure, check over there that bottom knob is at 3 o'clock and hasn't got bumped, or your slider's not got bumped, and you might be putting out too much signal.
Slider's perfect.
Slider should be at 0.
Perfect. And then
okay.
Nothing's bumped.
Okay. Well, it's just been a little choppy and weird for me.
Well,
so next,
when we were interviewing drivers today, you were I think it's you, not me.
Well, I'm watching your mouth move, and then I don't hear anything. Like I'm afraid you've got some issue with your connection.
Well, I hear things coming and going.
Yeah, it's
you're in the ocean.
Mark says you're in the ocean. I think maybe you should try to reset your connection or something. I'm gonna move along talking about these pictures while he's taking care of that. So this was me and Larry hanging out with our friends at Rotella. The lady right here in the foreground, she was the one that we interviewed a few weeks ago, Karen Newman. So we got to hang out with that. I was horribly disappointed that she did not bring me a 55-gallon drum of Rotella T6 as I had humbly requested, but I don't think she could fit it in her carry-on. The next picture, this is a really fantastic little device here. It's called the what's that thing called? Snapdragon.
It's I got his card right here in front of me.
Yeah, it's Protote Systems, and this thing's called Snapdragon, right? And it is a really fantastic machine. As you can see here, it opens up, and you can lay the tire down flat on that platform, which is the way tires are supposed to be.
Tire mounting tool that we've ever seen. As a matter of fact, I brought it, and he verified with me that he's never.
All right,
and,
hey Larry,
Larry,
it's really bad.
Yes,
it's really bad. Like your mouth is not matching your audio, and it's a connection issue. You're gonna have to check out your connection. I'm gonna pull you out while you're working on it. So anyway, this thing, what's so revolutionary about this device is we can't hardly ever get people to air up or to set the bead properly on a tire, because if you stand the tire up vertically and then you try to set the bead, the weight of the wheel causes that wheel to drop, and fall down to where it's out of round. Okay, now Craig is saying it's both of our mics. So somebody's going to have to give me a health report on this, because everything looks fine to me. Now somebody's saying no video. All right, let me bring it up here on YouTube and see what the hell is going on. Oh, this is just not the day. Blue Ribbon Podcast. All right, this says we're live. So if it's both of us, then it would have to be it would just have to be. So Sonny says, I sound good. Chris, your mic sounds fine. Okay. All right. So it is him. It's not just me. You just can't hear Larry. Okay. Yeah, something's going on. I think he's going to have to reset his browser or something at home. Okay. So anyway, Snapdragon. So where we struggle is trying to get people to not air up or set a bead on a tire with the tire standing up, because the weight of the wheel pulls it down, and it causes it to have the wheel be just ever so much out of round, and it causes a vibration. And so when we tell them that we need to lay the tire down, like lay it down on a bucket, well, we can't do that because we've got to have it in the cage, and what if it blows up and all that crap. So what this does is it allows you to lay the tire down horizontally like that on that pedestal, and then you can close this lid, and when it's closed, the tire's completely protected, and he has all of these valves and stuff where you can properly air up the tire and get it like you like it. All right, let me bring Larry back in here. How you doing now?
I can't find anything wrong on my end. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay.
I can't find anything.
Make sure all your other programs are closed on your Mac. Maybe make sure it's not dragging your make sure there's not something else running, all your mail and all that stuff. Try to close those other programs.
All right. Will do.
So here we are. We got to hang out with Larry Cawthorn, L Boogie. I've got you muted, Larry, right now while you check on that other stuff. We got to hang out with Larry. This was a cool company that we ran into called Retrofit USA. They make AC fittings where you can build your own AC lines at very affordable. And so this is something that we were very excited about. Then we were not going to miss this for nothing. Landstar had a seminar called Who Sets the Rates? A Day in the Life of Landstar Agent. And Brandon Coburn stood in front of the firing squad and did pretty well. And because there were some doozies in there. Let me bring Larry back in. All right, how you doing now? Have you tried anything different?
Oh.
Dude, that is so weird. Why is it acting that way? It's like it's...
I mean, nothing has changed from what... I don't have anything different.
Yeah, and it says your network connection is great, which is bizarre. That's like there's something interfering somehow with your setup.
Strange.
Well, the one thing you could do is bow out and try to reset your router and see if your router's not talking to the internet for some reason.
All right.
Or you got some kind of speed.
You need me to leave the...
Yeah, because you sound drunk.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like slurring your words. It's that bad.
Oh shit.
So
okay,
just close the browser, go to your internet, reset your router, and then come back. Maybe even restart the computer. Well, there he went. Okay, back to the show. This was a podcast fan, Danny Moon, that came up to visit with us for a minute. It was good to see him. Here I got to meet one of my favorite YouTubers. This is almost said Troy Gentry. Tim Gentry from Gentry and Sons Trucking on YouTube. I got to hang out with him. He's got some really exciting stuff coming out here soon. Richie got to sit in a cab over for the first time, and it just absolutely blew his mind. It's Tim Gentry's cab over that he brought. And this was the room where we had our driver appreciation dinner that I tried to live stream from, and that was a disaster also. So now Larry had ordered Seth to start the event. And so Seth decides to come up with podcast quotes out of context. And so I guess he just decided to listen to a few hours of podcasts and just pulled out clips, and they were hilarious. The showstopper was at the end where he picked out a part where Phil was talking about a Conestoga, but he said I told him to I told him to pull it back and strap on or something. I mean, it was hilarious. I should get him on here to tell those because they were really funny. And then Phil and Seth got up there and had some fun at everybody's expense. There's Phil waxing philosophic for us. I said stuff and things. Then there was this god awful, ridiculous heavyweight championship belt that Larry bought me, which is just about the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. That was my Fleet Manager of the Century Award or whatever. Here we are with Chris Dolan and his wife Margie. Chris is a he's a truck shop owner here locally in West Virginia. Owns Cam's Service Center. He was our he was our provider of the year. And this is Chase Bryant from DPF Alternatives in Milton, West Virginia. We use him to do EGR cleaning, DPF cleaning. Really sharp guys. They also, by the way, have started a new thing called Recore, where they can rebuild your one box for a fraction of the cost that it costs to buy one from the dealership. And here we are. This Bruce Mallinson and Bill Fellman from OPS and Pittsburgh Power. We were going through some data, trying to figure some stuff out. And here was the last picture of the day. I was hanging out with our friends at Pittsburgh Power, which, by the way, y'all support our sponsor, Pittsburgh Power. We're glad to have them here. So anyway, that was pretty much our time at the truck show. We had a great time. I love going there because we get to meet people, but the networking opportunities are fantastic. If you've never gone to the truck show, you got to go at least once. I mean, my gosh, it's 1 million square feet under one roof, more gadgets and gizmos than you can think of. All the amazing stuff that you can do. So it's a really good time. You can't get bored there, that's for sure. We love going, and it's a great time to celebrate our company, celebrate our drivers, give out some awards, eat some dinner, have some drinks, which I may have quite a few of tonight when I get done with this podcast. I have started going on TikTok live here a couple times a week. So if you're not following us on TikTok, you should, at Blue Ribbon Logistics. I also need y'all to go follow Larry on TikTok so that I can get him on these lives. He's got to have at least 1,000 followers on TikTok before it will let him join me live. And but the live thing on TikTok is pretty interesting because, like, I did it last night, I think for an hour, and there were like 7,000 and some impressions. And I mean, just TikTok's kind of the place to be. I know nobody wants to hear that right now, but TikTok's where everybody's at. All right, he's back. Status report.
I'm here. I didn't.
All right, well, that's much better.
Is it?
Yeah, you don't sound drunk, and
well, I'm going to continue to work on that problem, but
okay. I do need somebody. I do need one of y'all in the comments to run over to TikTok, to our account, and I need to know if you're hearing, because I've got some wizardry going on to get audio from this podcast into that. So somebody go over there and report back to me. Is the TikTok? Somebody says it's on TikTok. It sounds like shit, which that's unfortunate. Let me try.
That's the only thing that's not consistent here. It's the first time we've been live on TikTok. I have to think that's messing us up. So nothing on my end is being different than it always is.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think part of the problem is it's probably too loud over there. And
will I not be able to see the messages that happened before I joined you this time? Because I don't have any of those messages that I had before. Or comments. I don't mean messages, comments.
are you talking about on our YouTube?
No, on Restream, the listener comments.
Yeah,
I'm only
hit the
getting
word
them
chat.
since I came back. I'm not getting them.
Yeah, you're not going to get to see the old ones, I'm sure.
Okay.
Let me crank that down a little bit, see if that'll help the TikTok people. Anyway, there is audio on TikTok, but it sounds like absolute garbage. Well, I just adjusted it, so too much bass. Well,
it's all about that bass.
Yeah. Well, I have I've turned it down some more. Anyway, what I was talking about while you were gone was doing the TikTok live, and I did one last night about rates because everybody's wound up about rates, obviously. But what we should be talking about are costs. Because in an environment like this, you can't do anything about the rates. You can only do something about the cost. I sound good on TikTok. Larry sounds super, super loud and raspy. Well, that's interesting.
That's my personality, Dave.
Well, you might actually have your bass. Are you have your bass turned up any on that board?
Maybe. Let's look.
It's an experiment to see if because I mean TikTok. So TikTok's got a little broadcast thing that you can do to broadcast, but it's only a Windows based deal. Well, so I dug out an old PC and set it up here on my desk today. That's probably I've unleashed the demons from Microsoft. That's the problem. There's Microsoft demons and gremlins sitting on my desk, and that's probably the root of this issue.
Okay, I've got everything set to the same. Everything's just middle of the road.
Okay, it made a difference. Yeah,
did it? Okay.
Yeah, it made a little bit of a difference. So I was going to try to use this Microsoft based thing, but I hate Windows and I hate Microsoft and Bill Gates and everything. And at Seattle, I hate them all. But I did about an hour on lowering cost, and there's so few actual costs when you categorize them, because you've got fuel, your number one cost, you've got your insurance and permitting, you've got your maintenance, and you've got your driver. And the ones that you can do the most about are the most expensive, and that is the fuel. And, if you did not take the time when you were either making great money or when you were setting your truck up to get your truck to get the best fuel mileage, that's where we can see fuel can be a $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 a year swing between bad fuel mileage and good fuel mileage. And in rates like market like this, $15,000 or $20,000 could save your business, throughout the course of 2023. So that's kind of where we're at right now. All right. So you got anything you want to add since you were gone to our experience at the truck show?
Well, I've been focused on trying to get my technology here working. So I'm just now kind of getting back in the thought process here. No, I mean, the truck show is a truck show. We've been there probably 10 years, and we like going because we get a chance to look at things firsthand and talk to the people, just like this guy with this tire mounting machine. I mean, that's ingenious. I mean, no, I've never seen that. And the guys in MD Alignment had never seen it either. We know that that's the proper way to do it, but yet there's nobody in the industry that has made a machine like that. And that was just phenomenal. Anyway, it's always interesting to go and see the newest things and reestablish, relationships that you've had. We enjoy going over there and saying hi to all the people that we've done business with for all these years. And now this year, we actually recruited a bunch of them for the podcast. So we've got Fleet Air Filters coming on. We got Dr. Jane's coming on next week. And Chris, don't you have the blockchain guy coming on? And
I do. I want to talk about that because that we'll talk about that in depth more. But I made a contact through Bill Fellman at Pittsburgh Power over the weekend, and he's like, "Hey, so guy, my friend's son's brother's cousin was doing this thing about freight," and I'm like, "Okay." Then he said the word blockchain, and I'm like, "Oh, you have my attention."
All of a sudden, his ears perked up,
And so he handed me a card. I looked; they had a YouTube, and then and I went, "Oh, wait a minute." I started checking them out. Then I had a conversation with a guy named Todd, who's kind of the head of the thing, but really, really exciting stuff. So we've been emailing back and forth. We're going to kind of put together a plan. The difficulty that we have is, in order to understand a completely new way of doing business, a completely new way of doing freight, is that you have to understand how it's done now. And as evidenced over the last couple of weeks, there's a bunch of people that have absolutely no clue how the trucking industry works. None. Zero. Absolutely clueless. And so if you can't understand the fundamentals as they really are, not all this made up bullshit about the brokers are getting 75% and they're keeping all the money, it's just nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Or the difference between being leased to a carrier and authority. There's so many fundamentals that are so wrong that we've got to address that before we can say, okay, now we've said all of that stuff and we've talked about the fundamentals. Now here's the new thing, because the new thing is coming. There will not be brokers in the future. Now, is it a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? I don't know, but there will not be brokers. There will not be middlemen between shippers and trucks. Okay. All that, the way that we move freight right now is over. Okay. They just don't know it yet. So you've got to.
There's the problem right there. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not, but Chris just vanished. I think those words he was saying about Microsoft and Bill Gates, I think somebody's listened. They come and grabbed his ass up. Not sure. What I do know, though, it's Old Bourbon 30 somewhere. This is so weird. That's funny. Somebody's messing with me because so while we're waiting, Joshua, I see you're watching. Are we still going to see you next weekend? I've got you hotel room for Friday and Saturday night if that works in your schedule. So, and I don't really know where Chris is. I might have to wing this. This will take a whole different turn if I'm doing this on my own. Okay, so the discussion about blockchain will stop because I don't know shit about it. So. He lost TikTok too. He must have pulled the power cord or something. I can't help you, man. Don't know. I'm texting him at the same time, and he thinks he's still live. He says he can see me, but I'm assuming none of you guys can see him, right?
I'm back.
Hey, I think we found our problem.
I think it might be spilled whiskey on the camera cord. So
On my camera cord or
no,
yours?
on mine.
You got whiskey with you?
Well, I did. Most of it ended up on my desk, and I think that's part of my issue.
You're not experienced enough with whiskey to be drinking while you're trying to conduct a podcast. Okay, you're a rather novice when it comes to this whiskey and bourbon thing. You're going to stay with your little beer and your vanilla flavored beer and that little pussy stuff that you drink.
Yeah. Is the sound like? Am I coming through okay?
Yeah, but you sound different.
All right. Let me.
You sound like you're coming through a speaker.
Okay.
Can you guys repeat the last 30 minutes? Evan, you didn't miss a damn thing, okay? So the last 30 minutes, we've been fighting gremlins. Chris has been talking shit about Microsoft and brokers and stuff, and I think they're listening, and they sent gremlins over there and wiped him out. So, yeah, Michael, you should see what he drinks, okay? They got little umbrellas in them, usually.
Well,
so Joshua, are you coming on Friday? Am I going to see you on Friday or Saturday? Ooh, now we're getting feedback. See, the whole time here's what always happens. It's always I'm the number one guy that has to be fucking this up. Okay, it turns out that wasn't the case at all.
Stand by.
Yeah, tell him, Evan. Ask him that question again, okay? The low-tech redneck shit always works, okay? It's the high-tech redneck that has the trouble. And somebody asked me, my bourbon tonight, Kelly, is a brand new bottle of Jefferson's Voyage 28. A guy brought it to me, Jonathan, one of our listeners, gave it to me at the truck show. Such a sweetheart. Appreciate it very much. So I am drinking this tonight in honor of him. So, and if he's listening, if you'll send me your church size, Jonathan, and an address, I'm going to send you an official logoed blue ribbon polo golf shirt. You can have your choice of blue, black, or gray. Just tell me what you want. So, comedy gold. Sometimes you have to watch out what you ask for, Leon. So, anyway, to get back to the truck show, I've been going now since like 2009 or 10. And I've lived in Kentucky all of my life. I had no idea that this truck show existed until I got in the trucking business. And it was, if you've never been, you really, really should go. I mean, the grandness and the scale of it. I mean, you've got everything from the West Wing, trinkets, T-shirts, die-cast, keychain, anything. It's got to do with the truck. All the way up to over in the South Hall and North Hall, the OEM, brand new trucks, brand new trailers, everything in between. So every supplier that sells anything to do with trucking is there. And we were there for 3 days. Chris and I went Thursday afternoon to try to see the show, and there's no way. When we walked around the parts that we don't normally get to walk around, but that's 1.5 million square feet under roof, and it's a whole lot to take in. And of course, Saturday and Friday we kind of had to stay in our areas that we designated that we were going to be at, and that was Landstar on Friday and Pittsburgh Power and our other vendors in that West Wing on Saturday. But there's just no way that you can walk and see it all. It's unbelievable. But anyway, if you've never been, you should go. If you have been, then you know what I'm talking about. We also take the opportunity. We use it sort of as a morale booster or our perk, however you want to call it, because we're never, once we hire you here, we're never all together again ever. So this is the one day, one weekend in the whole year that we try to get everybody at the same place at the same time. So,
and if we do see you, it's because you're in trouble.
Yeah, true. So we put all of our people up at Caesars over in Southern Indiana, and we have an awards banquet on Friday night, and then of course the guys can go to the show on Friday and Saturday and see everything. So our awards dinner was Friday night. Our big winners this year, we recognize Chris and Margie Dolan, Cam's Auto Service. They were our most valuable service provider for 2022. Seth Coberly was our fuel mileage champion for 2022. Phil Freeze was our truck owner strategic partner, most valuable player for 2022. Our big winner, though, was Richie. Richie was top truck owner in revenue, top driver in revenue, and we also awarded him the Lunatic of the Year for 2022. So it was and the big surprise winner though was our fleet manager.
Oh,
he was introduced as the undisputed world champion fleet manager. Chris, you got your trophy standing by somewhere you can show people?
I do, but there's one more thing I want you to check. I want you to hit that gear underneath the picture, and make sure that your microphone is your microphone and not that webcam.
My microphone is USB audio codec.
Okay, because it still sounds like garbage.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yes, I do have this ridiculously heavy ass. No, that's not your. So here it is. World champion fleet manager.
Undisputed world champion fleet manager. So
and
there's
that, and that how
there's
and that how they do it?
Of metal on that belt right there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I would love to have taken the call at whoever built this thing. You want to do what? you want a world championship belt?
They had no problem with it.
Oh, I don't figure they did.
Did you see all the custom stuff on there? The Landstars on the side, and you appreciate all the detail in that?
I did appreciate the detail.
You're welcome.
We're trying to figure out how to get it on the wall here. My brother-in-law is a pretty good carpenter, so I'm sure we're going to have to come together on that. Anyway, God, what a cluster. Well, I'm using literally every piece of technology on my desk to make this happen. So,
Evan had a question for you. Look, can you see Evan's question?
Yeah.
It's the very bottom one.
How come Larry's shit always works?
Yeah, I got it. Sorry about that. I thought that was an appropriate question for you. Have you froze up again? And there he is. He's gone. Now he's gone. What can I say? And I'm getting ready to have a visitor here. Y'all want to see my buddy right here? This is
unbelievable.
This is my buddy Pippin. He likes to be in the podcast. There's his tail. So,
God Almighty.
Evan says your question scared him away.
So, was his question, "Why does Larry's shit always work?" or the other one?
That was his question.
Yeah. Well,
he was being a little bit of a smart ass, but I appreciate that. I mean, I'm a firm believer in good quality sarcasm. It's worked for me well. Now it wasn't working well for me on the Landstar Facebook groups. They have no appreciation for it, by the way. So
absolutely not. Listen, I've had to damn near do this show by myself before, so you could qualify this as your turn.
It would be a short show, I'll tell you that. Okay. Good night, folks. We're done. Okay.
We'll see you. Let me call El Boogie, and the Larry and Larry show.
You'll never have to worry about me trying to nudge you out of the limelight when it comes to this shit. Okay, just so you know. So, some things coming up. We have a new masterclass starting next weekend. We've got 3 guys. One of them is always on here, Evan. He's oh, by the way, Evan was at our banquet. The only time we've ever had a rookie, or actually a pre-hire at our banquet. But anyway, he couldn't join us because he just turned 23. Literally, his birthday was on the night of our banquets. We gave him a birthday cake, and so he applied the next day, and so he'll be joining us next weekend. We have another gentleman named Jared Anderson, that the only guy who's ever applied to us and wore a suit to the interview, which was most impressive.
Now, we don't know that he wasn't on his way to his felony trial, so
could be.
We don't know why he was wearing a suit.
Could it be a prison supplied suit? Who knows? And then we've got one of our mentoring clients is actually joining the program, John Reynoldsson. I think he's on here tonight too. So that's our 3 that'll be starting next weekend. We'll be in West Virginia next weekend for that. Also, we've got one of our listeners coming down to talk to us about becoming a truck owner investor, and we look forward to that, meeting him and his wife. And so it's a big weekend. Our bartender, you heard us talk about Nick at the Blue Ribbon Bar. Nick is, you won't believe this, Nick actually worked for the DOT, not in enforcement, but somewhere in HR or something. But he did this bartending gig at part-time to pay for his daughter's braces. So I own the upper braces. Everybody else that comes to that bar owns the lower braces. And but he has successfully done that. So now he's going to retire from the bartending business and to spend some more time with his family. So anyway, he is retiring. So we're going to take him out Saturday night for a little celebration and show him our appreciation for taking good care of us. He has promised, though, that he would come back at our live event and bartend for that weekend. So, and we'll be talking about the live event maybe a little bit later on tonight. But what else we got going on, Krister?
Surviving the market, man. I mean, it's
let's talk about something fun.
Okay, something fun.
What's fun is watching these people on Facebook. The pain is just killing them.
Oh, yeah.
It's so fun. And now all of a sudden everybody, there's a whole thing today about figuring out your cost per mile on Landstar. I'm like, really? Now you're going to worry about figuring out your cost per mile? It only dawned on him, and this guy was talking about how at $2.20 a mile, which is, I guess, what his average rate is right now, how much money he's losing, Mm-hmm. Chris did a thing last night live on how we were making money at what, Chris, $1.75, or what was your?
I came up with I think it was $1.58, but it came out to $2.25 gross to get down to the number.
Okay.
I would show y'all the presentation that I made, but it's backwards because the TikTok camera's backwards, so I had to make all the slides backwards. So if I put them up in front of you now, they look stupid.
Don't give it to them. They need to come to the live event and see it in person. Okay. We've already given away too much shit. So.
But yeah, so what I did is I went to our fuel gauges and I averaged all 10 trucks, January 1st to yesterday, their average cost per gallon and their average cost per mile. And I think it was $3.62 per gallon that we paid, and it was 58 cents a mile that we.
And he's gone. It's funny. It's kind of funny. I'm turning him to a numbers guy. Look at him with the numbers. He did a nice presentation last night, by the way. I didn't even know he was doing it. I get this notice on my phone that we're live on TikTok. I'm like, are we? So I go on there, and it's Chris doing this little little live thing, and he had his presentation all squared away, and he had to reverse all the slides because you have to use the front camera, and it makes everything show backwards. So he had to go through and take all the slides and reverse them, and but it been nice. We had I think he had 1,700 views. I think it was on for about an hour or so. It's incredible. It blows me away. We were giving our numbers out at the banquet because Pittsburgh Power was there, and they're our primary sponsor. And I think the numbers, we're getting 1 million views every 28 days on TikTok. So that's kind of scary too to me. But anyway, maybe we're doing some good out there. So might as well answer some questions. Do new Cummins X15 need an OPS? Everything needs an OPS, okay? Because there's no reason to throw good oil away and throw good money away. So the OPS is not just the filtration, which is fantastic, but the evaporative, condensate evaporation. And then the lab sampling program. That's the big thing. Is every 25,000 miles having a lab sample, so you know what the oil looks like. So, listen, anything that's an engine that has oil in it needs an OPS, in my opinion. So, your go-kart, your motorcycle, your lawnmower, your car, certainly your big truck. So that's the answer to that question. And you're right, Leon. Thank you for saying that. Have you seen Fixing with Ryan's truck calculator? No, but I mean, it doesn't take a calculator to figure cost per mile. It's just like figuring your fuel mileage. If you know your expenses, that's the hard part. You can have all the calculators in the world, but if you don't have the data, it doesn't matter. So you take all of your expenses, okay, everything you spend money on, and you divide it by every mile you drive, paid, empty, PC, whatever, and that's your cost per mile. It doesn't take a calculator. You can do it with a piece of paper, a simple. It doesn't take a spreadsheet calculator. It's nice that they have those, but the problem with that is if you don't have your expenses, if you don't know what those numbers are, all the spreadsheets in the world aren't going to figure it for you. And what we find is that most people do not keep up with their expenses. So it's hard to figure, the longer you do it, the more accurate it gets, Now, a lot of guys will do it and they'll think, oh, I know it's done. I've done that. Now I know what it is, but it changes all the time. You could have some unexpected expenses. Well, but guess what? Your cost just went up. You could have, your revenue could go up. That could change your cost per mile. So I try to do it once a month at the very minimum. And that way we kind of have a good idea of where ours doesn't vary. With 10 trucks and with as many years of history that we got, ours doesn't vary greatly. It changed more last year because of the cost of fuel, and that's, that was a spike that was unusual. But normally ours doesn't vary that far off of what it normally is. But because we've got a lot of numbers that go in there. Now, it's just like anything else. The fewer numbers you have, the bigger one number is going to change that. But the more numbers you have, the less change one number is going to give you. So, we do. I mean, we know we know about this Fixing with Ryan. He's got a lot of good information. We watch a lot of his videos, and he's a former BCO. So, Interesting thing too. And he's not far from us. So, I was answering questions while you were getting your shit together. So,
well, I turned off my. Can you hear me?
Very good now. Yeah, you sound good.
I turned off my Wi-Fi and just going through Ethernet. So hopefully did away with the iPad and all that crap. So fingers crossed.
Well, you sound better. I was also complimenting your live last night. Yes, I was telling those guys, I didn't know we were doing it. I get a notice on my phone that we're live on TikTok. I'm going, really? So I go in and there you are. I tried to stir some shit up and you wouldn't answer my question. You skipped over them.
I did.
I appreciate that. So.
Okay. So what were we talking about? Before my froze. We were talking about that live, right?
Yeah.
Hell, I don't even remember now. Cause I remember you wanted to talk about something fun. So,
Here's something fun. Joshua has been He's been rewatching QuickBooks online training video. That would be like knitting needles in your eye. I'm sure. And now he's doing his personal financials on QuickBooks. Well, you're using QuickBooks online, I'm assuming. Is that what you're using? God bless you. That is that's a challenge. I use QuickBooks Desktop because I don't like dealing with the interface with QuickBooks Online, but mine's $550 a year. I understand why you wouldn't want to do that unless you're doing this every day like I am. But God, I hate it. I hate QuickBooks Online. I hate it with a passion. Like you, I've got a couple of accounting clients that want to do their own accounting, and we can't justify $550 a year for desktop. So, I'm also doing what you're doing. I actually paid a QuickBooks, whatever they call them, the gurus, and went and spent an hour with one of them here in Lexington, and had to grit my teeth and get through the bullshit of dealing with QuickBooks Online in the interface. But we're going to be able to make it work. I think we got to go to in order to change the account, in order to put account numbers in and change the chart of accounts. I think we have to go to the next tier, the level 2 tier, whatever that's called, to make it work. But we're going to be able to make it work. So, matter of fact, I'm working on that as we speak. So, all right. What else we got going on here? Somebody said 4,000 divided by 10,000 miles must be 45. Well, that's the math. I don't know about your numbers, but that's the math. Yes. You take all of your expenses. By the way, the driver is an expense. Your cost per mile can't exclude the driver, even if it's you. And if you're not paying yourself anything, you have to figure out what would you have to pay somebody to do your job. That's an integral part of cost per mile. Okay, you can't work for free, even if you want to. You can't work for free, so you have to include yourself in there. I
got something I want to show. There's a comment here. Where'd it go? My truck has Bridgestone M760 and Continental steers. It's brand new. Do you think it could need or I should get an alignment? Well, yes. I saw something today here on Rocky's Facebook page. He did 6 out of 10 done today. Brand new trucks I have to do for one of my fleets. Not a single one even close to where we want them to be. The best was 3/16 toe out. Others were as much as 7/16 and 3/8 out. Drives were all over the place. I can promise you that every new truck has a bad alignment. Every single one.
And if you don't understand that, there's a video. Chris, do they have access to that video from us or not? No.
I'm sure. Well, we can explain it in a minute. The way Mike Beckett explains it is when they're putting new trucks together and they're coming off the line, they've got 9 minutes or something. Some
really small amount of time. Yeah.
Crazy number to get the alignment. So their specs are, it can be this far this way and it can be this far that way. And anywhere in there is in spec. The problem with the Hunter machines is that they're programmed with factory specs.
Build specs.
The build spec. Well, on the build spec, your front drive axle can literally be pointed left or it can be pointed right. And your rear drive axle can be pointed left and it can be pointed right. And your steers can be way out or way in. And they've got these wide. What MD alignment does is gives you a performance spec, and it's much, much, much narrower tolerances.
It's a tighter tolerance, yeah. The OEMs can't spend the time. The assembly line can't stop long enough for them to do a proper alignment, so they get it close, within spec. And the problem with that is when you take it to a TA or anywhere else to get alignment, they're using those same build specs that's built into the machine. That's why you can leave there and pay them money and still wear tires. Yeah, it's junk. Now look, MD Alignment has a website, and on that website they have these videos. You owe it to yourself to educate yourself on tires. It's a big expense, and you can save a lot of money by maintaining your tires properly. Look, when I was driving, I got 450,000 miles out of a set of drives. I got almost 300,000 miles out of a set of steers, but they were aligned properly, they were maintained properly, they were inflated properly. And so
rotated.
I got twice as much as most people get. Well, that cuts your tire expense in half, So yes, to answer your question, yes. Now, we as a you hear me talk about CMC all the time. We went to a truck stop. There's a TA within about 2 miles of where this where our conference was in Kansas City. 70% of the trucks that we looked at had wheel bearings out of alignment. 70% had wheel bearings out. I mean, not out of alignment, but loose. Wheel bearings loose. So there's a good chance that your alignment's off. There's a better chance that your wheel bearings are not properly tightened. So yes, you owe it to yourself to go get yourself a good MD alignment. Now let me say this: we love MD alignment, but Mike Beck and MD alignment, they sell equipment. They sell a $12,000 piece of laser. They train the person who bought it one time. That does not mean that when that guy gets back to his shop, he lets some doofus use the equipment and line your truck. So I'm not going to give you a blanket endorsement of MD alignment. I'm going to tell you that the person who bought the equipment got the training. If you can get that person to align your truck, you've got a pretty good shot. Or you can listen to this. There are 3 people that run MD alignment shops that I know for a fact are absolutely knowledgeable what they're doing. And that is Rocky Rockefeller in North Florida, Chad Hone in Kansas City, and Jim Fowler up in Northern Michigan. I can promise you that those 3 people right there will do it and do it properly. The rest of them, I can't tell you that. They bought the equipment. That's all I know. That doesn't mean they know how to use it. So, but I will give those 3 people my complete and hearty endorsement. So
yeah, you gotta, one of our biggest struggles is trying to explain to someone that sells tires that they don't know what the hell they're talking about. I know more about tires than most of the people that sell tires. Larry knows a whole lot more than I do, and Rocky knows more than the both of us, and Mike Beckett is the God level. Mike Beckett has forgotten more about tires and alignment than most of the people selling tires do. All they're doing is repeating what they heard or repeating what they were told, and most of it's nonsense.
We stopped by a tire manufacturer at the truck show, and we did it just to have some fun, but we didn't act like we were having fun. We acted like we were really serious about one of their tires, and we were asking them about rolling resistance, and there's not anybody in that booth didn't even knew what it was. There's nothing they could produce that showed us what the rolling resistance was. Okay. So these are people that are at a truck show. They're paying a lot of money to be at. So you'd think they'd be knowledgeable, or you think they could get somebody on the phone that knew what the hell they were talking about. Nope. Didn't have any clue. Didn't have a clue.
Listen, if you understood that your truck's just lucky to have lug nuts on it from the factory, and they're tight, and no, you're not going to get the dealer to pay for alignment and balancing, because they don't know. That's the problem. They don't know, and they don't care.
It's a maintenance item. It's not under warranty. It's a maintenance item, just like a clutch face, clutch disc. Okay. So no, first of all, you're not even going to get them to. They're going to pull it in and put it on the hunter machine and tell you that it's within spec. That's all they're going to do. They don't understand. They paid $125,000 for that machine, okay? And they have to train everybody that uses it. There's nothing about that machine that replicates driving down the road. First of all, they jack it up, put it on turn plates. How many trucks have you seen do that? Okay, so they remove all the as-driven characteristics from the process and artificially put it in an environment that it doesn't exist in.
And by the way, Rocky is in the comments right now. This W Rock, that's Rocky Rockefeller of North Florida MD alignment.
Yes. So yes,
if you want your truck to run straight and smooth, you need counteract balancing beads in the tires. You need an MD alignment. You need a full inspection of your entire suspension, bushings, torque arms. I don't care if it's a new truck, right? Shocks, everything that connects to that suspension system needs to be fully inspected. 60,000 miles, your shocks are junk, right? I mean, we change them at 100, but generally 65,000, your shocks are junk and need replaced. So, and what's the centering sleeves? What's the company?
True Balance.
True Balance centering sleeves that will center your drums and your wheels. But you've got to look at it that you have spent X number of dollars on a truck, and at brand new, even if they put shitty tires on there, you've got $6,000 or $8,000 or $10,000 in tires. If you want those things to last, it's all about the details. All sounds good from an ex-drag racer that was all about the details. Let me tell y'all something. When I got introduced to the MD alignment, and I watched Rocky do this for the first time, that's the first time I'd seen it in person. And I'm watching a YouTube video, drag racer. Cletus McFarland got a $350,000 race car. And Kevin Smith of KSR Performance down in Gainesville, Florida, has built this car, and it is unbelievable. And it's time. They're like, okay, well, it's time to alignment. And I look, and there he is. He's got jack stands. He's got fishing line, masking tape, and a tape measure. And that's how he lined up that $350,000 race car to go down the racetrack at 260 miles an hour. The MD system is just the digital version of fishing line or string and a tape measure.
It just saves you from having that string blow around the wind. So literally, the first time I met Mike Beckett, we literally lined my truck up with string and masking tape in a parking lot. And it stayed, by the way, that alignment stayed on there for 4 or 5 years. And then I had Chad redo it, many, many years later. So it doesn't take this computerized alignment machine. All that's doing is measuring, and even the laser just lets these guys do it more accurately and quicker, and they don't have to worry about the wind blowing the string around. So it's not, nothing against the MD guys, but once it got explained to you and you actually see it, it's just not all that complicated. What they have is years of experience. So they can. Another thing you want to do, guys, is don't align your truck, after you buy new tires, because the tires tell the story. If you'll take it there with the tires that are worn, they can look at the tires and tell you what the problem is by looking at the tires, because they know what causes that kind of wear. So then align it, then go get your new tires. So once you take the evidence off, you take away a lot of the history. It's just like, you've wiped all the blood off. Now I can't tell where the bullet hole is, So leave it on there, let them align it and see your old tires. Also, if you let them know if you've changed positions of those tires, if you've rotated the tires and now you got the ones on the left, ones on the right, and they're looking at that, they're going, wait a minute, that doesn't look right, because that's opposite what I expect. Tell them what you did. Hey, I rotated them 100 miles ago. Now I understand why it looks like that. So,
well, and when you see a guy walk up to your truck and takes his hand and rubs it back and forth across the tires to say whether you're towed in or towed out, whether your thrust angle's wrong, because they can tell by either looking at the tire or feeling the tire with their hand. I'm not as good as Larry is, but I can put my hand on a tire and I can be like, okay, I can tell how that tire's wearing, and that tells me how the truck is aligned. If it's towed out or towed in or towed to the left or towed to the right, you can tell by feeling the steer tire.
Yeah.
We use Counteract balancing beads. You can get them at Love's. A lot of TAs carry them. Remind me, it's 14 and 12 and 16.
12 for steers, 16 for super singles. 12 ounces for steers, 16 ounces for super singles.
Rocky says I've done almost 40 trucks this week and 7 to do tomorrow. Let me get the BSE now.
Yeah, I'm gonna see
47 times.
Rocky's buying beer this weekend for somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a nice week, Rocky. That's a good week.
That's a big number.
Congratulations, my friend. He's trying to pay for that outdoor kitchen he just put in.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, that's a destination we need.
There he is. We could, yeah, we need to have a podcast from the outdoor kitchen.
Yes, absolutely. Um. Someone's. Feel free to talk about your cost per mile before the internet interrupted you. Okay, so what I did, I came up with was 58 cents a mile. I went to our 10 trucks in fuel gauges, and I came up with an average for the 10 trucks from January 1st to yesterday. The average was 58 cents per mile cost per mile, and $3.62, I believe, was the average cost per gallon. The national average last week retail was 4.10. So we were already saving about 35 or 40 cents just in our discount. And then our average cost per mile was 58. Okay. So I went, okay, I've got a fuel cost of 58 cents. We save 15 cents per loaded mile. All right. So if you did 100,000.
No, explain that. You said that, but explain it.
I'm getting there. If you'll let me finish. We save 15 cents per loaded mile. So
for
maintenance. That's
what you didn't say that. You didn't say that.
I did.
You didn't.
Okay.
Witness
for maintenance, we save 15 cents per loaded mile.
Thank you.
Now, if you run 100,000 miles and you're doing 15% or less deadhead, that's going to come to about $12,750. So it's about 12.7 cents per mile for all the miles. So that got us from 58 to 70. All right. Then I figured up that in at least to Landstar, can't speak about anything else, but at least to Landstar, we figured up that all of your insurances and permits and plates and all of the different things added all up together in a year's about $8,000. So again, 100,000 miles, $8,000. That's another 8 cents. So now we're at 78. So then I said, okay, well, now we've got to pay a driver. Our drivers, we tell them in this market, they should make at least 75. So I took that number of 75,000. The average owner operator made 67, by the way. So that came to 75 cents a mile, but we don't pay 1099. We pay W-2. So there's a payroll cost and tax and different things. So I added 11% to that. That was 84. So we had 0.7 plus 0.84. I got to $1.54 a mile is our cost to pay the driver, pay the maintenance, pay the fuel, pay all the permitting and everything. And then to back that out, I got to about $2.25 a mile gross that we needed to get in order to get to that number. That's our minimum. Anything above that $1.54 is total profit. Everybody else is paid. And we haven't had a problem yet achieving that.
So we got a troll. He says we're ramming Dave Ramsey bullshit down your throat, and that we probably don't own any trucks. So that's exactly the opposite of what. Hang on. We try to pull the bullshit out of your ass, okay, so you can stay in business. A truck god, whatever the fuck that is. But I got a message for you, okay? If this doesn't agree with what you want to do, just move on, okay? Nobody asked you to be here. You can kiss my fucking ass, okay? So
I mean, you can. I mean, listen. I'm sure if Dave Ramsey was here, he could tell you to kiss his ass himself, but I'll do it for him. That's what kills me. And this is I think this is an American thing. There's just so many stupid people walking around, and if they can't, if they're either their IQ is so low or their experience is so limited, and they hear someone talking about something that they don't understand, either because they're too dumb, they're too ignorant, or they're too inexperienced. The only thing they come up with, well, but you don't own a truck. Listen, buddy, it's like what was those? What was that? Smokey the Bear with the hat when I was a kid. Only you can go fuck yourself. Okay.
Well, Why don't you share with us how you stay in business, Truck God, since you evidently know more about it than we do?
If there's anybody in this conversation that don't own a truck, I promise you it's him.
Yeah. I'll be happy to share numbers with you if you want to do that. If you have numbers, I doubt you even know what your numbers are.
Zero.
But I'd be happy to share that with you from all the trucks that we don't own. But anyway, thanks for dropping in. Okay, we appreciate you dropping in. Want you like and subscribe and that sort of thing while you're here. Okay, so
new truck, zero downtime. Okay, we're done.
Speaking of being out of business, so I'm not even going to say that. I'm going to drink. Okay, so. This is why he is the social media guy, not me. Because all I want to do is take that guy and whip his ass. Okay, that's all I want to do right now.
I came in here with 2 beers and I can't find the other one, and I'm just or maybe I'll drink it. Hell, I can't remember.
Don't give him benefit of don't argue with him. Just let him talk. Okay, fuck him.
Super chat. You get to the top of the list. Hey guys, I just got my CDL and I'm looking for some pointers. Class A with hazmat and tanker. Only thing on my mind is driving tanker. Okay, so I guess you want to pull a tanker. Well, here's my pointers. Hopefully you did not get stuck with an automatic transmission restriction on your license. Make sure you know how to read a map. Make sure you know how to do math. Make sure you've got one of these. Take your CB radio. The best thing to do with your CB is, when you've got it mounted in the truck, is unhook the cord from the back of it and throw it out the window.
Along with your GPS.
Along with your GPS. If a truck driver's lips are moving, they're probably lying, as evidenced by this numbnut in our comment section. Go find people, and they're not easy to find, but find people that are experienced. So if you want to do tanker, like my best friend Zeke drives tanker, he hauls fuel. Well, if you want to know about tanker, go find some guys and bend their ear and say, hey, I'm new to the industry. Do you have any pointers? Right? That's the first thing. And you'll realize pretty quick that if you walk up to somebody, don't ever argue with an idiot, because they'll drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. If they know what they're talking about, you'll be able to tell pretty quick. So find some people that do what you want to do and do it well, and take their experience. And I'm going to give you the 2 best pieces of advice I ever received. And it was on my way to truck driving school. I had an uncle that was a 40-year driver, and he said 2 things to me. 1, you can go down that hill 1,000 times too slow, but only once too fast. And it's not what you make per mile, it's what you make per week. Because somebody can charge that either as an employee, somebody can promise, man, I'll pay you 75 cents a mile. But if you don't get any miles, you're better off making 60. You're better off making 45. Okay. So don't get hung up on the rate per mile. And the same thing, if you become an owner operator, don't get sucked into rate per mile. You've got to know how much you're making, because your revenue minus your expenses is your profit. So that's my best advice.
This troll's got to be somebody fucking with us, because you got all the talking. He's not even a truck driver.
Right.
It's probably random blonde.
No money means greatly. Yeah. Well, let's see. Can I? Yes. I can block him, and he's blocked.
That's too bad. I was having fun with him. Oh, speaking of which, I read an article today in one of the trade magazines. A shop in, I want to say Illinois, was fined $600,000 for selling delete kits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's there's what's it called? It's Diesel Cast or Diesel something on TikTok, and I'm sure they're on YouTube too. It's more in the pickup truck diesel world than big trucks. But I mean, there's guys that are doing prison time for selling delete kits and modifications for diesels and pickup trucks.
Right.
And of course they're going after the guys in the drag, the hobby racer drag racing world. They'll just drop in and, here's a $50,000 fine. Here's an $80,000 fine, and unfortunately these guys, they're trying to get this RPM Act passed, which, I mean, you might as well be the guys that are bowing on their knees up in front of Congress right now on a hunger strike.
Are they still not eating, or they all die? How long can a truck driver be on a hunger strike? I want to take the over and under on that.
I'm going to give it about 36 hours.
I got a feeling I think they're cheating. They got something in their pocket. They got a donut or something in their pocket, I'm sure. So
I need that link, David. Did you see the story where the IRS caught up to an owner that was paying $10.99 and busted him with fines and back money?
Please send me that, David.
I need that
Please
article.
Send me that. Okay.
I need that link right now.
Listen, I got into a heated discussion at the truck show in the Landstar room with this very thing. Okay. This guy comes up to me. He goes, "Hey, Mr. TikTok." And I said, "Well, hello." And he goes, "I agree with about 89% of what you." No, he said 98% of what you say. I thought, really? What is it you don't agree with? And of course, he launched into 1099. And of course, he's been doing this 30 years, and he's always paid people for 1099. His accountants always said that he's okay, and he's had all these people, audits from the IRS. And I said, look, after about 30 minutes, this fucker wouldn't come rescue me. Okay, he's over the side just laughing at me. All right, instead of trying to get me out of this conversation. And I finally just said, look, I'm gonna give you a challenge. Okay, I'll believe what you tell me if you'll do this one thing, because he's got drivers. Okay, I said, take one of your drivers and have them file a complaint against you at the IRS for being misclassified as an employee. And then you let me know how that works out for you. And if it works out that you're for good, I'll eat every word I ever said about it. And of course, that was the end of that conversation. So, yeah, Dave Thomas, send me that. I'd like to see that. Okay. Cause I definitely want to, cause everybody says that, doesn't he? I know this from experience. I think I've told you all about the Santa Claus, When I was a photographer, I hired a Santa Claus, okay? And I'm not in the Santa Claus business. I thought it was pretty safe to hire a Santa Claus. I was on a 1099. Well, did I get schooled, okay? So I've been through this. I know what it's like. I know exactly. Now, fortunately, it was only a 6-week deal, but imagine if that had been a 6-year situation where I'm in the situation this guy you're talking about is paying all the back stuff. I got another story I want to tell. Can I tell it, Chris?
Go ahead.
I read something in one of these trade. I get Overdrive and Transport Topics and CDL Life and all these trade magazines digitally. I read something last week that caught my interest. Okay, and it has a little twist to it. So bear with me. The article was about rates, obviously, and this guy was an owner operator, had his own customer, not going through a broker, had his own longtime customer. And he had hauled this customer's freight exclusively for a number of years. And because of the rate structure and everything going on, his customer notified him and the other drivers who hauled their stuff that they were going to have to rebid the contract, and that they were going to have to come down on the rates. So this guy thought about it, and he said, "You know what? I'm not going to cut my rate. I'm going to go to them." And I'm going to explain to them my cost structure, and I'm going to explain how I can't do it. And that's what he did. So he set up an appointment, went to talk to the customer in person, and laid out his argument. Look, here's what tires cost. Here's what this costs. Here's what that costs. I can't haul it for any less than what I'm doing for. Well, they let him stay on at the previous rate. They didn't cut his rate. They cut everybody else's. They cut his. So he won the argument. So he gets to keep his customer and he gets to keep the rate. The last paragraph of the article was he immediately went out and bought a brand new truck
Oh,
and
good
traded
God.
his truck in. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So that's how truck drivers think. Okay. So I think that was an overdrive if y'all want to look it up. So,
Well, I want to reiterate for the record because, and I got something else I want to talk about too. 2023 remains to be the safest, most prosperous, most exciting time to be alive in all of human history. It's never been better than it is today. It's going to get better from here. But my wife was telling me, she went to get her hair done today. And so she's sitting there in the chair and Lay's got the news on. Well, we don't consume corporate news in our house. It's never on. Not Fox News, not CNN, not any of it. So when you are exposed to it occasionally, it's like this. It's like fingernails on a chalkboard. She was telling me, she's like, I couldn't believe the nonsense and stupidity that was, and it was the local news. It wasn't even one of the nationals. It was just, and that's worse, I think. The local news is so much worse. But people are so easily triggered today. And one of the things that Larry's experience has taught me about running a trucking business, especially, is thinking about all the things that you don't have to do to run a business in trucking. Your marketing budget is $0. Your advertising budget, $0. Your effort to go out and get freight and customers, especially if you're leased to a carrier, is absolutely zero, except to the extent where you just build relationships and not be a jackass, right? You show up on time and do what you're supposed to do. But this Budweiser thing that's going around right now, and everybody is all tore up about what's her name or his name or whatever.
You mean the queen of beers?
Yeah. Well, here's what's fascinating about that. And I was reminded of this because Adam Curry talked about this on the No Agenda show yesterday. Adam Curry built the first website for Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch, Bud.com or Budweiser.com and Budlight.com. When he left MTV, this was probably late 90s. He was in the mix when they came up with the born on date, because they figured out they could use the barcode to figure out when the beer was made. And so that was the very beginnings of the Budweiser born on date. So you could tell when your beer was born, even though it's not beer, it's water. So it reminded me of a story that Dale Earnhardt Jr. told a few years back, because he was the Budweiser guy from 2000 to 2008 or something. And somebody asked him, well, why didn't you ever run a Bud Light car? And he said, oh, no. Budweiser and Bud Light it's a very, very bitter rivalry up against those two brands. They're under the same company, but you don't mix those streams. You don't mix Budweiser and Bud Light when it comes to branding, because they're very, very territorial about their branding. Please understand that in the marketing and advertising world, and all those people on Madison Avenue that make more in a month than most of y'all make in a year, nothing is accidental. They did not put that person on that can not knowing what the outcome would be. They knew exactly what the outcome would be, and that's why they did it. Because I have heard with my ears that brand name more times in the last 5 days than I probably had heard it in the last 5 years.
True.
Why is that? Because you dumb sons of bitches are so triggerable. They play you like a fiddle. They know how to manipulate your emotions. They know how to manipulate your prejudices or whatever it is, because there's no such thing as bad press, people. They knew exactly what they were doing and they don't care about the plight of transgender people. Come on now. You think Bud Light and Budweiser gives a damn about anybody except selling beer They want to sell beer. Please stop being so damn triggered all the damn time.
They care about certain kind of horses.
Well, Clydesdale horses and
yeah.
green money. They care about money. But here's the point. Here's why I'm bringing this up. When you are emotional, you are irrational.
Yeah, that's true.
When you are emotional, you are irrational. So when you say things that you start believing stuff that you think, like, well, the rates haven't changed. The broker's keeping 75% of the rate. Do you think the customers are that stupid? If you were a shipper right now, having all the access, all the digital access to all the information, if you're a shipper right now, are you going to be like, sure, I'm going to keep writing $5 a mile checks. Y'all get the trucks to haul it for $1.50 and keep the money. It's okay. Are we really that stupid in the United States of America in 2023 right now? Probably. Come on, y'all. Well,
you asked.
Emotions
Budweiser's
have no
cold
IQ.
Carbonated piss water. Wow. Tell us what you really think about it, Leon. There was a question there. Joshua, the Coronado, we consider the Coronado a semi aerodynamic truck. It in the FLD, or they're not as bad as a Classic, but they're not as good as a Columbia. So it's kind of there is a give up there in aerodynamics. I'm not going to say a mile per gallon because that's what the difference between a Classic and would be, but I would say somewhere in a half mile per gallon is probably what you're going to do.
Now, that truck that nobody wants to talk about was a Coronado that Kevin was mixed up in a few years back.
Yeah.
They went to the extent of taking the stacks off of that truck, right?
They put them. They took the stacks and the filter. One doesn't have filter, the stacks, and put them behind the cab, yeah, and that helped it. So sure, yeah. But I mean, look, it's not horrible, but it's not as good. The sloped hood is definitely more aerodynamic. The good thing about the Coronados, all of them pretty much are, because of the way the tanks are and stuff, you got kind of automatic fairings down the side. That helps. But those exhaust stacks really, really hurt it, so. But you can move them. I mean, it was pretty expensive to do the body work and everything to move them, but you can move them to the back, But, people buy those trucks for their looks, not for anything else pretty much, so. It's a nice truck. The thing about the Coronado is all the body parts fit a Columbia except for the hood. It's really not that different except the hood.
Yeah, and the thing where the FLD loses is it doesn't lose on aerodynamics as much as it loses in practicality, because FLD parts are getting harder to come by.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, really hard.
The reason the Century and the Columbia win, when you check all the different boxes, is they are aerodynamic. Of course, you can make them as unaerodynamic as you want to. Our friends south of the border proved that to us.
Yeah, they can.
But it's the practicality. It's the ease of operation, the ease of working on them. That the Century Columbia platform, the C120. That's where it wins. Because it wins in every single box that you can check. The FLD is not terribly less aerodynamic. It is less aerodynamic, but it's not terrible. But it's finding parts for it. Interior pieces, the doors, all that. I've got a friend he's got a beautiful Classic, and he's done a lot of custom work to it. But he's literally had to fabricate his own parts, because of trying to find the aftermarket's not responded to the FLD the way it has the other trucks. And so it's just, and listen, again, we're back to what's our target audience? New owner operator buying their first truck.
Right.
You want to establish your trucking business to where it has the fundamentals to where it can survive this market. And you want to go write a check for a $200,000 square-nosed Peterbilt, brother, more power to you. But when it's your first truck, it needs to be practical. It needs to be efficient. and it needs to be reliable. That's it. Pretty's not on there. Comfortable's not on there. Within reason, but you can put a nice seat in one for $700.
Well, and it all comes down to the cost per mile thing. I mean, that's the bottom line here. Operating at a cost per mile, and there is a give up because of the semi-aerodynamics. I mean, there's definitely a give up. Whatever it is, the thing about that is it doesn't go away. You can't fix it. You can't undo it. Every mile that truck drives, it gives up probably half mile per gallon. I'm going to guess. And so you just write that off. I mean, you're never going to recover that. So when you when you compare it to the Columbia Century, whatever the life of that truck is for you, the 125,000 miles that you drive it a year times a half a mile per gallon, that number is just a give up. You can't get it back. So that's the thing that's the hard no for us on that, is because we want to give away that much profit because of a hood, basically. So
here's a great comment from Phil. If you cut out every product from every company that doesn't hold your values, you're not going to be able to purchase anything, right? And that's when they don't care. They don't care. Okay. So if you want to drink piss water, go get some Budweiser, if that's what you like, but please stop with all this nonsense. Here's a good question. Every time y'all add on a new truck, does that truck need a new contract, or does it fall under the contract you already have? It falls under the truck contract. Larry is the BCO. There's one BCO, and every time we add a truck, he just adds an addendum. Is that what you're just adding basically a page?
Yeah, it's an addendum. Yeah, it changes one page out of 65 in the lease agreement. So we're just adding equipment.
So this is interesting. Dave and Rocky been going back and forth in the comment section about somebody that posted a Michelin chart in a group.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, so here's where it got to. They put a Michelin chart on it. It shows to run super singles as low as 75 psi. Now, I think it was when we had Mike. Yeah, Mike Beckett addresses this. Okay. Remember that if I walk out to the driveway and look at my Ram 1500 pickup truck, it's going to say maximum pressure. Okay. And it's going to have a number. I think it's 48, whatever. But on a big truck tire, it says maximum load at a pressure. Okay. So Mike does a masterful job of going through that chart because there are different pressures for different loads. And so he explains much better than I'm about to, but he explains that with different load characteristics, the tire could be up and down, but nobody's going to do that. Nobody is going to change the air pressure for all this stuff. What we're trying to get people to understand is that to get the maximum life out of those tires and to get the maximum fuel mileage out of those tires, crank them up as high as you can get them. 130, 135, 140, 145, whatever it is. That's the point. This is an example of people trying to nitpick so they can go, oh, see, he was wrong. That's not the point. Yes, at 75 PSI, there's a maximum load for that tire at 75 PSI, and there's a maximum load for that tire at 120 and 130 and 140. It takes, 400 to blow the wheel? 400 PSI? 400,
yeah. And about 650, 700 to blow the tire. So.
Yeah. So, but that's an example of these idiots that will hear someone say something. If they can't understand it, they'll find something. Oh, see, I found it. He's wrong.
Let me tell you a spec that everybody ignores, okay? That tire is only rated, that super single is only rated to go 65 miles an hour. Do you know that? Now, nobody talks about that one. Let's pick out the one that doesn't affect us, and we can talk about that, but let's not talk about the ones that, guys driving 75, 80 miles an hour down the road.
So here's a good one. And this varies by state. I talked to a guy here in West Virginia. that does this for a fee. He'll help you get your automatic removed. In Texas, to remove automatic restrictions, now I haven't verified this, so one, please be telling the truth. Make an appointment at your Department of Public Safety office. You only need to take a manual truck, no trailer, no pre-trip, no maneuvers. All you're doing is a modified road test. Now, that's not the case in West Virginia. You have to be truck, trailer. You have to redo the pre-trip. I don't think you have to redo air brakes or any of their stuff, but you have to redo the pre-trip and you have to redo the road test in West Virginia. I don't know what the other states are. But if you did get suckered into getting an automatic transmission restriction on it, on your license, you need to get with your state and figure out how to get that removed.
Craig James, yes, we do recommend the Michelin Line X Energy. I think it's gone to a D plus or D2 or something. There's a recent iteration of it. But actually, if you can still find the Line Energy Ds, they're actually a better roller resistance tire than the most recent one. So absolutely. And the tire's available in both the Line X Energy is the dual tire. The X1 Line X Energy is the single. So
if Phil is still in the chat, he can address this one. If I understand, only heavy haulers change their air pressure in their tires, and I don't know a heavy hauler that runs super singles. They probably don't. We talked about this with Phil because when you get into the 16 plies, you can put more weight on a set of duals than you can on a single if you have the axles to support it. But I don't know about changing their air pressure. Phil, if Phil's still in the house, he can address that. Let's see. Any more comments? I guess that's it. Excuse me. Well, let's talk about things upcoming. Reset Your Mindset 2023 that he swore he was never going to do again.
Well, we're changing the format of it, I can tell you that. So August 1920 in Hurricane, West Virginia. We'll put out more information about it probably in June. It's a little too early right now, but save the date, mark it on your calendar. We're going to be the same place we were last year, which was a phenomenal. Now that we're not going to have a wrestling match next door, so we
have we confirmed that
we have, okay. And we have the whole place if we want it. So we won't have to move to a different place that night because of the wrestling match. So. We're same hotel. There is truck parking there, so you can park your truck there. We've also got truck parking at the truck stop a couple miles away, and we can accommodate your truck. So we'll notify you more about it. We do have some special guests coming this year, and we'll let you know who those are as we firm these contracts up. But I guess we can go ahead and tell one of them. We kind of got a confirmation today that Larry Cothran, what's his name, Boogie? Is that his nickname? Huh? Yeah.
El Boogie.
El Boogie. He will be there that weekend. We've got some other people we've invited that are experts on different topics. So anyway, mark your calendar, and we'll do that again. Next Friday night, we're going to have. Is this confirmed with Dr. Jane?
Yeah, it is on 14th.
So the lady who invented the catalyst, the chemist, she's a PhD. We call her Dr. Jane, but she is going to be on the podcast next week, and you guys can ask her all the questions you want to. But she's going to talk about the catalyst and how it works, and and she's a very, very intelligent lady, and but she's also very, very informative. So be a great time for you guys to question her about the catalyst. So when can you buy tickets, Evan? Well, we'll announce it. It'll be on the website when we get everything nailed down. But we'll have everything ready to go by June. So I'll give everybody.
Well, the benefit to being in the program is you get to come. So.
You don't really have to have a ticket to come, Evan. If you're in the program, it's gonna be part of your deal. So, don't worry about it. What else we got?
We got Donnie Baker comments in it, but I'm not going to put those on the screen because I don't want to get kicked off YouTube.
Who's Donnie Baker?
It's a character this comedian plays on Bob and Tom.
Okay. All right.
He's awesome, but he'll get you thrown off of YouTube.
Okay. We won't need that. So Craig, was good to meet you. We had a lot of people, especially at the Landstar booth that first morning. Man, we pretty much took over the Landstar booth.
Yeah, we walked up and they're like, "Where have y'all been? People been coming by
People
here."
were waiting for us when we got there. We'd been over to the Landstar hospitality suite that morning for breakfast and got hung up over there. Me dealing with that dickhead about the 1099. And then I proceeded to stumble down the escalator after that.
That was great.
So I think one of my guys pushed me, Richie. I think Richie pushed me down the escalator. But
I don't know if we got to talk because with the internet issues, but there was an agent there, Brandon, who gave the talk in the Who Sets the Rate seminar, and he did a really good job of trying to talk sense to a room full of people that didn't have any. But there was surprisingly there was a couple of people that stood up and said some stuff, and then there was others that were like, they got applause, for being like, if you don't know how to run a business, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Here we go. Phil is checked in. Super singles are fine for oversized, but not for overweight. Some states pay strict attention to the weight ratings on tires as far as air pressure. The more pressure, the better. So there you have it.
Yeah, there's the first two people, they were just waiting, for the mic to be handed to them. And all they want to do is talk about how do you brokers, and they always call the agents brokers, okay? Do you all the nexus of their comments was, do you all know what it cost us to operate a truck? And I wanted so bad to stand up and yell, who the fuck cares? Okay. No, they don't know, and nor do they care, Right. But I couldn't. I had to keep my good nature and my good reputation intact. And so I had to sit there and listen to that. But the rest of the room basically did the same thing, but they did it in a much more subtle way by applauding people who had the opposite, point of view.
Yeah.
Like, look, your cost is your cost. Okay. That wasn't given to you by an agent or a customer. That was completely your decision. I kicked a little hornet's nest on one of the Landstar groups this week about the very same thing. There was a guy on there talking about, the price of his truck and all this kind of stuff. And I said, so wait a minute. So the agents have to guarantee your success based on the decisions that you made. Is that what you're asking for? Because that's what they're asking. I mean, let's call it what it is. They want somebody to guarantee them a rate because they spent money on a truck, that's obviously, crazy. But when you get desperate, that's what you do, and it's going to get more desperate as the toilet bowl swirls, it's kind of comical in a way, I'm sorry, but it kind of.
Let's remind everybody. I'm going to put this graphic back up just to remind everybody. All right. This carrier population, what goes up must come down. Okay. And all this big capacity that started in the middle of 2020 and carried up through 2022, it's going away.
Yeah, it has to.
And unfortunately, that means heartache for some people. It's going to mean difficulty and bankruptcy and repossession and there's going to be a lot of bad stuff happening. And I'm not celebrating that, but it's just going to happen, and there's nothing that's going to stop it. And once that happens, the rates will stabilize. They'll probably be in the 250 to 325 range. once it stabilizes out. But if you need 350 to survive, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Especially over the next few months. It could get, but and here's the other thing that the point I wanted to try to make. When I got to that $1.54, the rates can't really go any lower than that. Okay, I know you think they can because you're going to make some derogatory statement about somebody that wasn't born here and say, "Oh, they'll haul it for 80 cents." They can't. They might be able to temporarily. They might be able to for one day. Okay, but fuel costs 58 cents a gallon. It doesn't. I'm sorry, 58 cents a mile. Somewhere between 58 and 65, depending on how your truck runs. You've got to pay maintenance. You've got to pay fuel. You've got to pay a driver. The rates cannot go much lower than about $2. But that's going to wipe out about 75% of those people in that upper bracket. We can make it on that. They can't. Now, we're not taking the wheelbarrows full of money to the bank like we used to. But we've been in business at Landstar for 10 years. And probably will be another 10 years. So
I see no reason to leave.
No, there is no reason to leave.
Although people give me a reason every day because they talk about how much we're giving away by giving Landstar all of our money. I've yet to be able to put the math to that. So I can't make that work. But speaking of authority, we have a comment from Luke.
Okay. Good evening, lunatics. I had a question about brokers ceasing to exist. Can you go a little bit more in depth? Why is that so? I feel like brokers are crucial to some shippers. They are. Okay. Let me try to put this into 5 minutes. Okay. Let's go back to 1980. Motor Carrier Act of 1980 happens. The industry is deregulated, meaning there was no more board in the government that set the rates, that decided, okay, well, this rate from here to here is going to be this much. The market was deregulated, and so the market could set the rates. Well, up to that point, a lot of companies had private fleets. I remember when I was a kid, Kroger had their own trucks. They no longer own trucks. There was a Shoney's restaurant, had their own trucks. Big Bear was a local grocery store. They had their own trucks. Well, when deregulation came along and it was no longer necessary for them to own their own trucks, hire their own drivers, have all the maintenance and the payroll and all the stuff that was involved in owning a fleet, they could now use the capacity of people that had trucks and trailers. And so there was where the broker was kind of born, right, as we understand it today, because the shipper just wants to move their freight. So how can they do that? They could hire somebody and put them in an office, and their job is to go find trucks, or they could get an agent or a broker or someone where they could pick up the phone and say, I need a truck on Thursday, find me a truck. Okay. So you created the middleman. You had the shipper that has the freight. You have the carrier that has the truck. You need somebody to connect them together. And then as we got up into the 90s, the 3PL, third-party logistics world was born. And so what we have done is digitize the dog turd. We have refined a bad way of doing business with all these intermediaries, but they were at one time necessary. Well, because the blockchain was born in 2008, and if you have not read, go Google the Bitcoin white paper. It's very easy to find. It's not very long. Go Google the Bitcoin white paper, and you'll understand the principles of why blockchain was created. It came as a result of the housing market and the financial markets. But blockchain is a way for two people to be connected in a way that is safe for both of them, because the transactions exist everywhere all the time. There's not a central location like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Landstar, C.H. Robinson. Everybody has these little centralized units, and everything has to go through that centralized point. Blockchain allows for decentralization, not only of freight, but of energy, but of money, markets. And so I 100% believe that the global financial system, as we know it today, will not exist. The transportation systems that we have today will not exist. I can't tell you when. I don't know if it's a year or 2 years or 5 years or 10. But if you'll go and understand what blockchain is, take crypto and set it to the side. I mean, blockchain can't exist without crypto, can't exist without crypto. Crypto can't exist without blockchain. But the point of it is the ability for us to communicate and trade freely without a central authority or an intermediary. So as I get these guys that I've met with Truck Coin Swap, and we start talking, we can't do like one episode. We're going to have to do multiple episodes because there's one guy who hauls freight. Hauls fuel up near New York City, and everything he does is on blockchain. It's completely decentralized. So it's not something that has to be created from concept. It already exists and it's already being utilized. Now, the people that are benefiting, who are the intermediaries right now, they're going to fight like hell, but it's a losing proposition. They'll never win because a decentralized model is 10,000 times better than what we have now. Because we're so used to what we have now, it's hard for us to think that there's something better. But it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be amazing. Again, 2023 is the safest, most prosperous, exciting time to live in all of human history. So stop looking in the rearview mirror and thinking about the good old days and how it used to be better back in the day. It was not. It was never better back in the day. You think it was, but it wasn't. So there's very, very exciting things coming. And I don't know, I don't know what that means for Landstar. I don't know what it means for JB Hunt. I don't know. But if you look at what Uber did, Uber is centralized, but what Uber did was connect people that already had assets, a car, to people that needed a ride, and it gave them a way to connect. It was still a centralized platform, and everything had to go through Uber. And we saw in 2020, Uber could still get in and tell you had to wear a mask and all this bullshit. But there is coming a day when there will not need to be an intermediary between a shipper and a truck. That's where we're headed. That's where we're going to. So I don't know. Will carriers exist as they do today? Probably not. I mean, the reason that we are at Landstar rather than anywhere else is because their centralized system is so good. It provides us risk management. It provides us cost management and cost effectiveness and efficiency, all these benefits that we get from being at Landstar that we can't get being on our own. The question will be is if technology comes along and gives us that same risk protection and efficiency, I don't need Landstar. So, it's complicated, but it's coming.
Well, it's so inefficient. You know, I mean, there's empty trucks everywhere. You know, and the blockchain is going to be contingent upon the connectivity between the shipper and the truck. The truck's there because the GPS did that. Now it's getting the shipper involved. And that's what these companies like Convoy and Lane Access, that's what they're doing right now, is they're trying to replace the broker with digital or matched freight and eliminating the broker. They still don't have the blockchain as far as guaranteeing the security of the transaction. Yeah. That's still not there yet, you know. But it's coming. It's just a matter of getting it, you know.
I don't remember exactly what the number is, but it's something like 80% I believe it's 80% of the U.S. dollars that are in existence today were created in the last 2 years. So I would encourage you, again, to read the Bitcoin white paper. There's a fantastic series on YouTube by a guy named Mike Maloney called The Hidden Secrets of Money and Currency or something like that. It's got kind of a cheesy title, but it gives you an amazing history on money and currency, what money and currency is and why it exists. And it gives you a historical lesson from the Romans up through the 20th century to now. The federal government is trying to come up with a digital dollar right now. It's going to be a disaster. But when you think about $2 doesn't buy what it did 24 months ago. You know, inflation is a whole lot worse than what they'll admit. But right now, you need to be studying Austrian economics. You need to be studying crypto. You need to be studying blockchain and history, right? And not the history you got in your government school textbook either. Because the one thing about human history is it ends up repeating itself a lot of times. There's not a lot different of what's happening today socially and economically as what happened at the end of the Roman Empire. It's very, very similar. But go read about it. You know, turn off the television, and for the love of all that's good and kind, turn off the news and read a book.
Yeah, and don't be distracted by the Chinese and the TikTok, and don't be distracted by the government trying to talk you out of having crypto. You know, there's a reason for both of those, and it's not anything close to what they're making you try to believe. So
yeah,
you know,
because
they fear the decentralization, because once that happens, they have no power. So
Sonny says, doesn't someone have to be in the middle to regulate payment? No,
that's what the blockchain does.
That's the beauty. If you'll understand blockchain and the decentralized ledger of blockchain, you'll understand that that's what fixes it.
Yeah.
It gives you that ability to reconcile that transaction in a way that it's called gosh, I forgot the name. Listen, there's a lot of terms. But it gives us the ability, freaking PayPal. All right. We sell products on our website, OPS, Catalyst. And so when I set up the website through Squarespace, one of our options was Stripe. And so for 2 years, we sold stuff on Stripe. And all of a sudden we get a message. Your business is violating our community guidelines. So you can't take payments for Stripe anymore for Catalyst. Well, okay. Well, what's the other option? PayPal. Okay. So we moved everything to PayPal. So then somebody bought an OPS and like, well, we're going to hold your money for 21 days. And we got to make sure that you're not doing whatever. Do we ever get money from them yet? Or are we still? Okay. Listen, the whole point of freedom and liberty is to be able to have a willing consumer and a willing producer. And if those two agree, it's nobody else's business. So what I would love to see in a completely blockchain-based transportation management system is when I pick up a trailer and they seal that trailer and they lock it somehow with a digital encrypted lock, and somebody says, what's in the trailer? I don't know. None of your business. I don't know what's in the trailer. So unless you want to get out a torch and you want to cut that door open, you're not getting inside. Well, it's my duty. It doesn't matter. It's none of your business. Just like these numbnuts that are at Congress right now, they want broker transparency because they want to know what the broker's being paid by the shipper. Well, guess what, sweetheart? It's none of your business what the shipper's paying the broker. You're not the broker. The broker has a customer. You have a customer. Broker's your customer, by the way. But it's none of your business what their deal is. You don't need to know. It's none of your business what I make. It's none of your business what Larry makes. Mind your own business and you'll be a lot happier. So, but when you have the advanced levels of encryption that you can get with blockchain, you can point to a transaction and say, yep, that's me. And that's it. And you can prove between the only two people that matter, the producer and the consumer. Everybody else can pound sand and jump in the lake because it's none of their business. And that's what privacy is. That's what freedom is the ability for me to go do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whomever I want. And it's none of your damn business what I did, where I did it, how I did it. And so when we have a currency or currencies that are also completely unregulated and decentralized, well, good luck chasing the money because you can't see it. You can't regulate what you can't find.
The shipper can't decide not to pay. Once the transactions happen, the payment's already done. So that's the thing. It's secure. Nobody can change it. Nobody can cancel it. Nobody can undo it. Once you shake hands digitally in blockchain, the transaction's done. It's already happened, and it's in. If you understand blockchain, no one person can ever get to it. You know, it is what's the word, Chris? What is the word when it's not non-fungible?
Immutable.
Immutable. Yes. So it eliminates that. There's no reason for it. And the transaction is secure from the time that you say yes. You know? Right.
Because like there are smart contracts. Okay. So the way, an example, the way a smart contract could be executed is you show up to pick up the load, and the terms of the contract are when you cross the geofence and you arrive at the receiver, you're paid. Done. Right. It's an instantaneous transaction based on the proof that the load was delivered. And so there's not a bank. There's not a middleman. There's not anybody that can say, you know, like the problems that we had at in California. When California legalized marijuana sales, cannabis, a bunch of banks said, oh, well, you can't bank with us because the federal government says marijuana is still illegal, even though the state said that it is legal. Because of federal banking laws, the banks wouldn't let, or they've done it with ammunition, they've done it with pornography, they've done it with prostitution, whatever it is, whatever kind of vice. And they'll say, oh, well, y'all can decide that it's legal between you, but we're gonna cut you off at the bank. Well, when there's no bank, when the money or the value is transferred directly from the person paying the service to you with no middleman, let them try to stop you. You know, because it's a decentralized, immutable ledger. So if you imagine we got 46 people in here, imagine everybody had a paper ledger, all 46 of us. Okay. And a transaction takes place and everybody writes that transaction down. Okay. And then we write the next transaction down and the next transaction down. Well, in order to change that blockchain, you have to go back and change every block in every ledger. Well, imagine if there's a billion nodes. The bigger the chain gets, the harder it is to corrupt, because now you've got to go change every single block. And once it's locked into a block 5 blocks back, well, you got to change everything after it. It's not possible. So that's why it's really important right now to understand the technology, the basics of it. You don't have to become a PhD level expert on blockchain, but you do need to understand that it gives us humans the ability to conduct transactions across political borders. You know, I mean, imagine I ordered a box. Okay, here's a box. All right. It shows up. Where'd it come from? None of your business. What's in it? None of your business. Where'd it come from? None of your business.
What you going to do with it?
What are you going to do with it? None of your business. None of your business. Somebody freely and voluntarily of their own will sent me this box, and what in it is none of your damn business. Pound sand. That's the future of blockchain.
Now, expect, the government to push back on this, just like they are on TikTok, just like they are on, everything, crypto, everything else that threatens the centralization. There's going to be an attempt to attach it to something that is unpopular, in order to stop it. Because again, the only thing that they have that makes them powerful is the control. And they're not going to go down without a fight. So it's very exciting for us. It's very scary if you're in the government. But
my favorite was
so.
My favorite was, what's her name? That senator from Elizabeth Warren said that a single blockchain transaction takes more energy than it does to run your house in a year. What an idiot. But they know that there are people that will listen to her and believe everything that she says, just like they'll believe everything Trump or whoever said, if they'll say it, it must be true. And so they'll fight back. Oh, well, cryptocurrency is only for criminals and drug dealers. And listen, y'all look through history. The people that brought about freedom were never the rule followers. It was always the disobedient, always, in every case. So, well, we've gone 2 hours and 5 minutes. We've stirred up all kind of stuff now.
In the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But educate yourself, you prepare, and look, the broker is not required right now. It's a convenience. Okay. If you're a shipper and you've got to ship stuff out and you don't have a traffic department, the broker's who you pay to become your traffic department. It makes the location of trucks. It takes it off the shipper and puts it onto somebody else. And let's be honest about this transparency thing, okay? You didn't hear about this in 2021 when everybody's getting $6 and $8 a mile, okay?
Nope.
Nobody gave a rat's ass about it, okay?
Nope.
The only reason it's important right now is because the business model fails.
Right.
So when the business model fails, I'm going to attack somebody else's business model because I need their money.
Yep.
I mean, look at it for what it is. It's not, the broker has a business model just like the truck has a business model. They're two separate things. They're both done by choice. Okay. A broker chose to be a broker. A trucker chose to be a trucker. Okay. It would be just like in another business. I can't make it. So I'm going to go over here to a completely different industry and go, okay, tell me what your profit margin is. I need some of that because I can't make it. And that's what we're doing here. That's all this transparency thing is a desperate attempt for failing owner operators to be able to take money from somebody else that they don't deserve.
Right.
It's like the broker didn't earn the money because they sat at home. We talk at Landstar. We talk. The BCO gets paid 65%. The agent on average gets paid 7.5%. So when that clown stood up in that meeting and goes, "Do you know what it cost me to drive a truck?" I so bad wanted to say, yeah, that's why you're getting 65% of the transaction. And the guy over here that has very little cost is only getting 7%,
Yeah.
But, we can't see it that way because, again, the desperation of a failed business. So.
Well, and again, he hit it right on the head. The shipper has two options: have their own shipping department, which comes with payroll and benefits and, all the cost of having a department and an employee, or they could pay someone outside that has all of this cost a commission. Brokers work on commission, and the average commission, according to every metric I've ever seen, is around 15%. If you are so stupid that you think that the shipper is still writing a check for $10,000 and the brokers keeping 7,500 of it and giving you 2,500, that's insane. It's not even logical. Of course, logic is something we're not allowed to do here in the United States. But they get a commission. So when the rates drop, so does their commission, right? Now, if you're just an idiot and you call them up and you'll move a lane for $1,000 when they're getting paid $1,500, that's your fault, not theirs. You got to know how to go negotiate. The problem is all these jokers, and that guy, the hunger strike guy, said in his TikTok video, "We're going to restart a movement that started in 2020." And I went, So you started in 2020, but then you put your movement on hold in 21 and 22 when you were making money hand over fist. But now we've got to restart the movement. The movement was necessary in 20 and 21. It was only, 21, 22. The movement was necessary in 20 when the market was down. And now the movement's necessary again in 2023, but it wasn't necessary in 21 and 22. They're just idiots.
I wonder if the brokers wanted transparency in 2021 about what your cost was when you were holding in for ransom.
Right.
Again, guys, this is so immature. Josh, we had the Lane Access president, our CEO, on our podcast. I think back around 100 or something like that. If you want to look it up,
yeah.
And so it was an interesting thing. All right, guys, it's we've been over a couple hours. It's late. You guys need to get some rest. I need to finish drinking my bourbon, and we love you, but I don't love you that much. Okay, so we'll see you next Friday night. We'll be live from West Virginia, and we'll have Dr. Jane on. So get your questions ready about max mileage, okay?
Because she'll be able to answer them.
And we're looking forward to it. So really, really, really smart lady. So. And nice, very nice lady. So, well, right, Chris, anything else you got?
No. I'm ready to try to resurrect my desk from the destruction of earlier, and we'll talk to y'all next Friday.
Well, a couple things. We haven't said it yet, but Pittsburgh Power Course is our primary sponsor. We've had the banner up, but obviously, guys, we appreciate you giving them a call and letting them know about the thanking them for being on the podcast. But we're winding down our first year with them, and we want to renew. So we would appreciate you guys letting them know that you appreciate them sponsoring the podcast. So be sure to do that. One other thing I want to mention, and Chris, you might have to help me look this up, but you guys know about Carl, and Carl, is having some health issues, and he's on a list for a lung transplant. They need to raise about $25,000 to get on that list and to get this process started. They have a crowdfunding thing set up on Facebook. Well, I think Chris is trying to find it right now. But if you guys can throw a couple of bucks on there, whatever you can afford, I know that they really, really would appreciate it and need it. And Carl is, whether you've used him or not, you've used his knowledge, because that's what we talk about, all the time. And so if you feel it in your heart to help out Carl and Nikki, we really do appreciate it. So with that, we'll call it a weekend. So Chris, that's on Facebook, right?
No, it's GoFundMe. I've got it in our TikTok bio in the what's it called? The link in bio, Beacons link. There's a link to it. They've got to have $25,000 raised before he can go up there. So, and get the transplant. He's got to have a double lung transplant. So, they're at 88.75 now, and they need 25,000. So,
let's show a lot of lunatic support there, gang, and help him out. Appreciate it. Okay.
All right.
So, all right. Well, have a great week. Be careful out there. We'll talk to you next Friday. Okay.
All right. See y'all.
Thanks for